Sure.
Hello, today I'm joined by Julie Starr, a widely respected authority on coaching, mentoring, and personal development, and the author of The Mentoring Manual, published by in Romania by App Publishing. Also, we have to add that she'll be the main speaker for the upcoming event, The Magic of Mentoring, Magia Mentoratului, set to take place in Romania, and where Julie Starr will share her insights into the transformative power of mentoring. Hello,
Sure.
Julie. Welcome to this talk, and thank you for being here with us today.
Oh, you're so welcome, Augustin. You're so welcome. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
We have the book here.
Okay. You have the book here, and I have the book here. Okay,
Oh, great.
Great. And
Okay.
it's also just been published into French and German, which is, if you know, this is my original book. So this is the one that I'm most known for,
Yeah.
that teaches people how to coach. And then I also have this book, which is
Okay.
a book for managers and leaders that teaches managers and leaders how to coach. And this is actually the third book I've written.
Okay.
And it was because it was missing in the set.
And how do you personally define mentoring, and what differentiates it from coaching?
You know, it's most people build up to that question, but that is kind of the question. And I'm so glad that we get to cover it up front, because I might refer to it later. It's a huge area of confusion and misinterpretation, and it's quite a complex response, but at some level I can give a simple response, which hopefully I will do. And then it becomes multi-layered. But basically, the confusion arises between coaching and mentoring because people try to distinguish the difference at the level of behavior. So people try to say, well, a coach asks lots of questions and is less directive, whereas a mentor knows more and instructs and gives guidance and wise advice. The issue is that these things become like a Venn diagram, where quite rightly people start to contest, people start to question, well, hang on, does that mean a coach can never offer feedback or guidance or advice? And does that mean that a mentor should never sit back in a conversation, inquire, and help somebody come up with their own solutions? And of course, if you were to draw a line down and say, coaches always do that and mentors always do that, and you shouldn't cross the boundaries, then it becomes ridiculous and impractical. But the problem has been that people are trying to create a difference at the level of behavior. The difference is between the two one-to-one relationships is actually at the level of relationship, the nature of the relationship. And so actually, mentoring can be confused with lots of other one-to-one relationships, like coaching, like managing, like consultancy. And it is currently in the profession, and there's good reason why these lines become blurred. And it's okay for somebody to be calling themselves a business mentor that's actually doing more coaching, or that's actually doing more consultancy, or sometimes
maybe the job the job requires to do that in a particular case.
Yeah, of course, because you're serving the client, you're serving what somebody needs. So it's ridiculous to stop doing something just because you've called yourself a business mentor rather than an executive coach, for example, or a management consultant, or a chairman of a board. So what is important, however, is that people begin with a simple understanding of what mentoring is, and also to understand when they digress, when they're moving away from the pure essence of a mentor role. And what's simple access for people to understand about a definition of mentoring is you already know mentors, because mentors are an archetype. And by an archetype, I mean, I'm referring to kind of Jungian psychology, or this idea that we have definitions, general definitions of energy and behavior and role that comes from a statement of an archetype. So, and archetypes are all around us in film, in fiction, in fable. We see them. Hollywood uses archetypes very elegantly. So typical archetypes that we all recognize would be the ruler, the king, sometimes the lover, the hero, the fool, the innocent, the child, the gatekeeper, the mentor. So
and maybe all the time they have this sorry to interrupt, this attribute of guidance, and they know how to do it.
Yes, but it's guidance with an intention. So you're pointing at something another slightly different aspect, which is the intention of the pure mentor role. So if you recall mentors you've had in your lifetime, and it could be your favorite teacher, it could be a friend of the family, it could be somebody you used to work with or work for, it will be somebody that has this impact of influencing how you think, how you view the world, what your values are, what you make important, your integrity, let's say, because you have been inspired by somebody that you had great respect for. And indeed, this exchange of benevolence or generosity, compassion from the mentor to the mentee, the person being mentored, and respect from the person being mentored towards the mentor, creates the oil in the wheels of that whole machinery. So if we look at a pure mentor relationship, and you'll see those all around you in movie, it's Mr. Miyagi in The Karate Kid, or it's Professor Dumbledore in Harry Potter, or it's Mary Poppins. We've got them all around us, and we recognize them instantly and think, okay, this person is mentoring. And it's often a wiser, older person to a younger, maybe more innocent, maybe more naive person. So what you refer to is giving advice. It's advice with an intention to have the person grow. And it's the ability to know when to give specific, calibrated, detailed advice, or whether it's appropriate to give a more general sentiment that says, I think you might be overcomplicating, and I'm wondering what simplifying this situation might do. I wonder if you perhaps focused on what's really important about moving career, or taking the job, or not taking the job. And so this is where wisdom comes in the topic of advice. So there are lots of ways that mentor is shaped, is redesigned, is altered, changed, especially in organization. But it's important to know the pure essence of it in order to know why you have stepped away from it, why you are doing something different than the pure role. And then at least you can stay clear as to what you're doing. How does that sound?
This puts into context, because you talked about organization. So it is a more professional and specialized field, and you have to adapt and to put your mentoring discourse into a professional perspective. So it gets to, let's say, a personal level, to a level with the responsibilities, and maybe where a mentor has to, I don't know, not show the path, but at least make a leader come together with everything and look to everything calm in a sea of storm, let's say.
Yes. And that's why, so you point to an important aspect and an important attribute of the relationship, Augustin, which is sometimes it's who the mentor is being around a situation rather than what they're doing. So I come to you, you're my mentor, I come to you and I've got this chaos and confusion and I'm overwhelmed and I'm stressed. And because you are mature and experienced, you bring calmness and you bring resourceful resilience to a situation.
And you give confidence.
And you give me confidence because you're not panicking and you don't appear worried by any of it. And you're just saying, okay, this is typical for this stage in a project. There tends to be a lot of miscommunication. People tend to be going off and doing their own things. And what I find sometimes helps is to have regular check-in points and to revisit the terms of reference or to revisit the project plan or get people together or deformalize the communication. And so then I can take heart from your experience and think, oh, okay, this is actually, it feels chaotic and it feels difficult and it feels problematic, but you're not panicking and you don't seem surprised, and I respect and trust you, and therefore I can start to relax a bit and think, okay, what do I need to listen to? What does he know? But it's as much from your calm approach as it is the actual solution we come up with.
Yeah, because a sea of storm maybe is what characterize nowadays more than ever.
Yes.
Everything is taking a lot of speed, especially in the companies where maybe leaders with a lot of responsibilities and a lot of people around it, a lot of money involved, a lot of things that depends on the decision. They have to have in the end someone which is, let's say, a bit of a psychologist, maybe therapist, like they say today, a bit of a teacher, a bit of a confessor, maybe everything that comes together in a mentor, if may I say.
Yes, and all of those things could also be called a coach. So, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that we confuse, that some, because there will be practitioners listening to this that sometimes call themselves a consultant, a business advisor, sometimes call themselves a coach, sometimes call themselves a business mentor or a business angel. And that doesn't matter as long as your client understands the service they are buying or procuring, and that they get what they want in terms of their that their objectives are met. So mentoring is a distinct activity and a distinct relationship, and it has a distinct intention that is different from a pure executive coach role or a management consultant role. And where you can imagine if the role of a mentor or a coach or a business consultant, where that sits outside an organization and the services are contracted in, it's more straightforward to define that upfront and so that somebody knows what they're getting. Where mentoring and coaching, and sometimes internal consultant, we get internal consultancies in large organizations, where we have that inside of the organization, the role has been defined by the organization for the organization, and that's when you get these very hybrid applications that are distinct from anything else. Because, for example, in some mentor programs within organizations, mentors are given involvement in the performance management lifecycle, in the performance framework. So they're involved in performance criteria, scores, giving feedback at the end of the year, involved in bonus, the whole talent development thing. And that's clearly quite a distance away from the original intention of a mentor archetype.
Okay, and because we have to come a bit from the general aspects, a bit to the more particular ones. What is the main inspiration for writing the mentoring manual, the book that we have here?
Yes. It is this. It's to helpfully distinguish, because where we move away from the original intention and essence. It can make real logical sense. However, we lose what I would call is the magic of mentoring. And the magic of mentoring lies within this ancient archetype, the nature of this relationship, this synergy of benevolence or compassion, generosity, and respect. And that dynamic of influence and inspiration that goes beyond the logical. And a lot of the influence that a mentor has is unconscious as well as conscious, because as I've just said, it's who you're being in the conversation for me. I respect you. I just like to hear you talk about your stories, and I think about that afterwards, and I get something from that. But I'm motivated because I'm respecting of you. Whereas in maybe a management subordinate relationship, you've got all sorts of different dynamics at play, all sorts of different criteria. In a one-to-one coach situation, again, the conversation often has a different nature and intention, and it's more performance-based typically, and it typically tends to be a shorter involvement, a shorter assignment. These are all just general principles rather than hard and fast rules.
Because you get rid of, let's say, those reports of, let's say, boss, subordinate, all those reports that may impede a freer talk and with a mentor, this should be easier.
Yes, and with a mentor, if it's a great mentor relationship, I can relax with you. I can listen to you. It's not always obvious what I get from the conversation, and it might not be obvious in the conversation, and I might not even realize until afterwards. But when we have the relationship appropriately evolved and developed, then these natural tendencies of this influence and inspiration and engagement, that's when they can start to surface. But it isn't at the level of doing, which is sometimes why I see organizations over-engineer mentor relationships by prescribing rules, have-tos, shoulds. They have too much of a focus on maybe performance, or maybe talent development, or maybe career goals and career success. Whereas when you look at the people that have inspired you most around your life, that hasn't been the nature of the conversation. It's just that natural human influence. And that's the magic of mentoring.
Because sometimes maybe companies tend to forget that they work with people, not with machines. People that have their problems and the special situation, and they have to perform even in again, bad weather or problems or difficulties in life.
Yes.
And it's like, maybe to quote you, if I noted, some things you can be taught, but others must be learned, as you say.
Yes. Yeah, completely. Some things we have to learn for ourselves. And this is why patience and compassion and generosity is a natural tendency of an effective mentor, because you're looking at somebody and you're watching them make mistakes, and you're looking at somebody and seeing their logic, their simple, naive logic around a situation. And it would be easy to go in like a parent and tell them, don't do this, do that, you're going to make a mistake. But sometimes wisdom is only learned by the individual, and sometimes it's better to say, okay, I think this might cause you some problems in the medium longer term, but I can understand why you would want to do that now. Why don't you go away and try it and see what happens? We can always talk it through. And then once that lesson is learned, the individual will remember it. And also they remember the kindness and the compassion that you have towards them during that. Whereas if you think about a manager-subordinate relationship, especially if you, as you've already observed, organizations are driven quite a lot on results and quite a lot on facts
On
and
profit.
figures and on profit. Yeah. And so in a manager-subordinate relationship, if I see you're going to go and do something that doesn't work, I'm unlikely to let that happen. Unless I'm a great manager, I'm unlikely to let that happen, and depending on the consequence. Because I'm being driven by a different criteria, which is saying, don't let things fall over, don't let things screw up, or I get into trouble. Whereas a mentor, hopefully, doesn't have that pressure that then they pass on to somebody else. So a mentor isn't passing on pressure. They're creating space for a conversation.
And because a mentor is not pressed by certain things and can look at things from a different perspective, maybe he can notice a certain employee that is not on the job that he is talented for, and maybe can guide that person or its boss. Hey, this person maybe is better on that field, and don't use it on this field.
Yes, and it's important what you say. This is because a mentor's perspective and intentions for the individual are distinct. They're unique and different. So as your mentor, I'm interested in your growth. I'm interested in your potential. I'm interested in who you are really. And I'm using my wisdom and my experience to lean into that a little bit. So I'm not putting you in a box that everybody else has put you in that says, you're running the tech help desk, you're doing a fantastic job for everybody, we just need to keep you there because nothing falls over when you're running the tech help desk. But actually, I see you as, why is it that he's so great in this role? And it's because of his network of relationships. And it's because of his ability to light touch situations. And it's because of his ability to stay calm in a crisis. And then I look at those and start to think, where else could that shine? You know, what's the next step on the trajectory of success and growth for this individual? What's next?
Okay, and because I cannot just jump over this, the magic of mentoring, Magia Mentoratului, an event that will take place this autumn and will be in Romania by App Publishing. What is the key message you hope Romanian readers can take away from you?
I hope that people can remember this archetype. People can go back into their past or even into their present, either where people are currently a mentor for them and where they are a mentor for people. And in remembering it, they can return to this very human connection that is available within mentoring. And we haven't touched upon it yet, but it's probably important to note here. There's a real humanness in mentoring. It's a natural way that as humans we have evolved. And this exchange of wisdom, this compassion, this generosity towards others, you know, this sense of interdependency that is naturally at the heart of mentoring, that's what becomes the magic dust in a situation. And I acknowledge it's difficult sometimes to justify, you know, when organizations want performance, they want to retain talent, they want to accelerate people's, you know, span of control. Asking people to engage in a very natural, evolving relationship where they're going to go and spend time, I think it can be difficult to justify. However, when we look at the survey results for just the human support for tough and turbulent times, you know, the trust and level of connection that can happen in these relationships, and not all relationships, because not all relationships work, but that's life as well. But this added layer that is a genuine individualized layer of support for somebody, a very human level of support. In the mentor, it becomes quite a heart-based thing rather than a head-based thing, and where lots of managers and leaders and consultants are always, you know, running around in their heads and trying to fix and sort, and it becomes this way of connecting with each other and operating through more of a heart, more of a felt sense about what could be right for somebody. And that is joyful for people. People generally, not always, people enjoy being given the role of mentoring somebody else because it feels like a privilege, and it is a privilege. Yeah. And also the mentor can grow as much through that process as the mentee.
Because sometimes in nowadays, it seems that looking from up to down to the employee, empathy seems to be a weakness, or is rather regarded in a very competitive society. And also human touch is something that you can get rid of, but it's there, so we cannot forget it. And the people, they need this human touch and in this empathy in order not to be disconnected by the whole thing.
And I'm glad you said that, because it becomes what I would call a derailment factor. You know, it's today, it doesn't look like a problem that nobody's getting coaching, nobody's getting mentoring, nobody's getting any individualized level of support. It doesn't look like a problem because we can save money by not doing the mentoring scheme this year. However, ultimately, the human cost will surface. You'll lose people, you'll burn people out, people will disengage. And where we've got, you know, every engagement survey you look at for the last 10 years that I've been following engagement surveys, engagement isn't getting any better unless you're in a small company and you've got your hands around everybody. Because these foundational factors of support for the individual, well-being, people's mental health, I know that's a big term, you know, just looking after how people feel about working for an organization. And I don't mean looking after it in a nanny, nursemaid, parent-child dynamic. I don't mean that, because that's not helpful either. But we cannot ignore this human in this machine. When we do, there's a consequence. That's the derailment.
Otherwise, maybe it's a simplistic example, but it came to my mind because we talked about the world of Hollywood and all the characters there, and maybe we have to avoid transforming our world into the movie The Office, right? Where everybody is out of touch with everything, and they are only robots, and in the end, everything goes in a disastrous way.
And the reason The Office is funny is because we recognize it. So I remember we had the UK office here before we had the US office. I remember watching that, and it took me at least half of the episode to decide, this isn't a documentary, this is a joke. It took me a while because I recognized everybody I was seeing. The people that were hiding, the people that were checked out, the people that were trying but they were getting ignored. The crazy guy that was completely out of touch with reality in terms of his self-awareness and awareness of others, lack of empathy, lack of recognition, driven by head office and statistics and results. Yeah, completely. It's funny because it's true.
Yeah, it was a joke, but everybody half laughed.
Yes.
And with a lot of questions, and then you have to understand what's wrong, and maybe this is wrong because the empathy, the human touch, and the fact that in the end, maybe to come to a close to this very nice talk that you allowed us to have,
Yes.
empathy is important and a mentor is important. And maybe it's a general question, but how do you see the future of mentoring 5 to 10 years?
Well, if mentoring is thousands of years old, it will continue. So there is a natural layer of mentoring relationships within our society that will continue, because this is the human element of this. I think if organizations are smart, they will see mentoring as a low cost or no cost option to start to give their people the one-to-one individualized personal support that they need to thrive and prosper in really tough, challenging times. You know, when you ignore that, you just push a problem further down the path, I think.
So, if you could leave one piece of timeless advice for future mentors around the world, what would that be?
I guess what I would encourage mentors to do is turn inward and start to recognize the natural attributes and qualities they have already that make them a wonderful mentor. And sometimes we can discover that by looking at the mentors we had in life and how they have inspired us, what values we've taken, what we learned from people. Sometimes it might be from great leaders around us or people that we see inspiring others. I think the other message I would have is, and we touched on it earlier, as a mentor, we can grow and learn as much through the relationship as the other person. And that's a natural benefit of mentoring somebody, of developing this connection with who we are in relationship to other people when we come from this compassion, this sense of empathy, this generosity towards another that becomes selfless. Because it's not about us being successful. It's not about us looking good in the light of others. It's simply about looking at somebody else and think, what is your potential? How can I support you? What do you need that I have? And my encouragement for anybody, either a mentor or currently a mentor, is please do not underestimate the power and potential of that, because too often mentors put themselves under incredible pressure to know the answers, to say something smart, to have all the right connections, to be impressive, whatever impressive means. And that corrupts the integrity of a natural mentor conversation and natural mentor relationship. Because, you know, I start to feel like I need to look and act senior, wiser, more experienced, more successful. I need to talk about all my attributes of success. And that's not true. And available in all of this, my reason to encourage mentors to go inward, available in all of this, you will discover your heart for other people. You will discover the simple pleasure of seeing somebody else grow and prosper and thrive, and take great pleasure from that.
Okay. In the end, what is the message for our Romanian audience and for Romanian readers that are looking forward to meet you in this fall?
I'm really looking forward to the event, and I'm looking forward to meeting mentors in Romania. And indeed, I'm really looking forward to seeing Romania. I've never been. My intention, my hope, is to support what appears to be this growing fire, this growing flame of awareness and appetite for mentoring, because that certainly deserves support, and it certainly deserves nurturing and fostering, because there is so much available in this field of mentoring. There is so much human connection, so much natural growth, so much sharing of available compassion, wisdom, guidance, experience. And in that sharing, we all rise. We all rise. And that's what I'm seeing begin to happen in Romania, and that's exciting for me. That's certainly enough for me to come over and want to speak to people about it.
Julie Starr, the author of Manual de Mentorat, the mentoring manual. We are looking forward to meet you this autumn at the Magic of Mentoring, Magia Mentoratului. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.